Good evening and welcome to Talking in Stations. This is the show for Thursday, July the 29th. I am joined by Shen today. I am Rundle Allnighter, by the way, and here's Shen.
Hello, hello.
All right, we got Matterall fully muted and in the background pushing buttons doing the production today. So that's our plan. We have a number of news stories, things to go through, some fun little tidbits of what's happening around New Eden over the last day or so. Just want to also start off by saying that uh, Talking in Stations is now accepting sponsors. I'm going to start off with this. We will see a sponsors video partway through. We'll take a little break. But if you are interested in becoming a sponsor on TIS, please find Matterall in game or come on to the Discord and find Matterall, and we'll get you directed to the right place for you to get the rates and put together a video and help with some sponsorship. So that's out of the way, a little bit of business up front. But let's talk about the new Eve Academy video that's now up. As you may all know, the new Eve Academy is this new set of introductory and instructional videos and information coming out of CCP. And there's a new one that is called Hacking for Profit. They go through the whole deal on doing data and relic sites. I took a peek at it. Seems quite instructional. It's pretty good. So it's probably a really good place to start. And then from there, you could probably go and search across, YouTube and else place for other tidbits of information. But it's pretty complete, 6.5 minutes ish or so. Shen, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yep. So it's a really, really good video. It's really well made. So this is a really good beginning spot for players who want to hack for their profits. But a big part in hacking or doing data and relic sites is actual practice. So this is a great spot to start, but this is not the limit that you can reach.
Right, and of course, depending on where you go, you can also, and depending what, not all sites are equal, right? You can run into some resistance. You may have to fight your way in, you may have to fight your way out, and then there's all the different escalated, I call it escalated, it's probably not the right term, escalated type sites where there's gas pockets and ways to lose your ship. It's not quite as straightforward as the video leaves you to believe, unless I missed an element where they talked about the danger. So
Yeah.
certainly a lot more complexity to it, but a very good starting video, I think. Another good installment from the new Eve Academy. All right, let's got that covered. That let's talk about what happened in Lone Trek. So the title of the show, Winterco stumbles today. Well, let's talk about that. Right, there was a bit of a fight and a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of a reason that happened. They were fighting over POCO, I guess, right?
So it started off with one of the, two, I think, fraternities, POCO in LowSec coming out of reinforcement, I think, and then Snuff dropped a Revenant on that POCO, which is kind of surprising. And Wintercoat or Fraternity saw that chance, and they dropped a bunch of dreads on that Revenant, but that Revenant managed to got away, and Snuff counter dropped their dread fleet and resulted in a big dread fight. So one thing we can see is that Fraternity didn't, or they forgot that they couldn't use dictors or interdictors in LowSec. So in LowSec, there's no bubble. So the only thing you can use to pin down a super is using a HiC, which is called the heavy interdictor. And I think they only brought one like later on. So the Revenant got away, and they lost a huge amount of their dread.
So no focus point, unfortunately. That's the name for that, right? A focus point.
Yeah.
From a heavy interdictor. That's whoops, a little unfortunate. Maybe there's a bit of a story there. Maybe their HiC pilot wasn't online, or no one was able to fly it. It's not the easiest ship to fly. It doesn't just you got to actually kind of train for it. Maybe someone DC'd or something. Who knows, right? That might be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this fight resulted in big losses, kind of on both sides. So Snuff lost about 310 billion, and Winterco as a whole lost about 505 billion. So total is about like 800 billion plus
That's a
for
big
both
fight.
sides.
Those are big numbers, Jen. Those are really big numbers. Like
Exactly.
for a low sec fight to 800 billion total loss. I
For
mean,
LowSec's escalations that over a POCO
yeah,
resulted
oh,
in 800
exactly.
billion.
Over a POCO. A POCO. Wait. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
But was there
so
any? There's a video, right? Yeah. So remember, a POCO is the player-owned custom office. So this is the thing that someone owned in LowSec for that would be used for planetary interactions. When you remove the items off of the planet, it goes up to the POCO, and whoever owns that POCO, that player-owned custom office, then would receive the tax on the extraction and stuff like that. So someone wanted to make a little bit of ISK, or wanted something on that planet, or they were trying to clear the customs offices so they could lay down their own. Something happened like that, and but normally, I mean, these things are not very expensive, and they normally do not create such large escalated fights at all, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so there's a video. Maybe we'll get to the video, but as we're setting that video up, was there any reaction? Have you heard from anyone who, any inside scoop, or any somewhere on, out on the interwebs somewhere, as to what happened or why it escalated to such a large amount?
So I think there's a thread on Reddit that's words from the Snuff side. It's basically, like I said, like escalation over POCO. I don't think either side expected this escalation, but it happened. And so it started with Dress coming in and the fraternity warping their dress to one spot, and Snuff out drop their dress on the frat ones. But also on the subcapital side, Fraternity brought a Tempest fleet, uh, and Snuff brought a Macaria fleet, and the Macaria fleet basically wiped out the entire TFI fleet without losing a single ship. As
Holy
you can
crap,
see on
not
the
one.
BR, yeah, not one. The reason that is they have a lot of faxes on support for their logi, so they have really good logi on that part. So later on, they escalate into super capital. Well, super capital for the fraternity side, or they dropped in about 18 or 20 uh, uh, titans, and then some super carriers as well, to clear out the dreads that were left behind by Snuff. And that's actually a very dangerous move if you think about it. Fraternity lost sub-capital control in that area, which means that if Snuff were ready, Snuff could drop a second time, and those 20 titans could be lost at any time if Snuff were ready for the second time, second drop in.
Right. So let's just talk a little bit about the mechanics, right? We're watching the video. Unfortunately, for those people listening on stream, though, it's just seems to be like a bit of a sped up video showing the dropping and the incoming faxes and dreadnoughts and stuff. So Shen, how did they lock down? So this is a nullsec fight. You'd have dictors everywhere. There'd be bubbles everywhere. None of these ships would have any opportunity to leave. So what was keeping these ships here? Was it the fact that they went into siege mode and then they just started culling them down? Like what? How did they manage to keep so much on field and lose so much?
So with a siege module, it basically has a 1,000 point on yourself, so you couldn't move, you
That's
couldn't
right.
jump, you couldn't do anything. So therefore,
So they
you're locked
sieged
in
then.
place.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
sieged, right?
I
So
see. Well,
yeah,
it's dread. Like so for dread, if you don't siege, you have a
yeah,
DPS of a cruiser.
yeah. You're
There's no
useless,
point.
right?
There's no point to bring a dread without a siege. So you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
siege up.
But so the reason why I bring it up that way, I'm not completely idiotic here, but the point I'm trying to make, I want to bring up, is because they siege to try to take on the Nyx, they failed to tackle the Nyx. Now all
The
those
revenant.
for
The
the
revenant.
Revenant, sorry, not the Nyx. I'm very sorry, the Revenant, right? So what ended up happening in this case now is all the dreads are locked on the field, and the overwhelming DPS is that means that they are culling down and killing the dreads before they come out of siege. That's an enormous amount of DPS. That is why a fight like that escalates, is because those darn ships can't go anywhere. And if you want to try to fight and bring more in, you have to siege, right? As Shen just said, your DPS is useless. It's like a cruiser's DPS. You need, if you're going to commit, you commit fully. You bring your dreads in, you siege, and you try to win the day. And all these other ships, the Macarials and Tempest and all these other stuff they're on, are applying such an enormous amount of DPS that these ships are dying before they can either get out, or the FC has asked them, just look, guys, we've committed, just stay sieged and keep trying to do what you can. And they committed to winning or losing, right? That's how a fight like that goes.
So there's a name for that. It's called siege green. So if you put your siege module to green, that means it's gonna repeat. If it puts to red, that means it's not gonna repeat.
Right.
So therefore, if your FC calls for siege green, that means just you're on the field until you lose that ship.
Yep, we're here until we die. Right, we're here until we die. Right. So, but it talks to how a battle like this can escalate because you have decided to engage on field and you're staying there, win or lose, and the ship ain't going anywhere. But you bring in all these other ships to apply DPS. It really looks exciting on the video. If you guys get a chance to come on YouTube after and watch the video, or go find it and watch it. It's sped up, but I mean, it looks. Yeah, we'll post it in show notes. It looks like a very, even educationally, it very, very good at showing how a fight like this can escalate in LowSec. No bubbles. I mean, if you really wanted to, everyone could just, warp away, de-siege, warp away, and get out if they really wanted to. There was really nothing preventing them. It looks like maybe there's a few Hictors there and a few, there's a few ships that are, pointing things, and so maybe a few ships would be locked down. But there's certainly not an overwhelming number of tackle ships there, from what I can see.
Also, we have to note that on the Snuff side, all of their dreads are T2 fitted, and for defense, they're either T2 place or T2 capital shield extenders, or Dead Space defense mod with Dead Space resistant mods too. So it's really well fitted dread out. But on the Frat side, most of their ship is T1 fitted actually. So
Wow.
So there's a giant difference there. So we can see nowadays with dread price going up, it is actually worth it to fit a T2 fit, like a well-fitted dreads to put them on field and to actually use them.
Let's talk a little bit about the pilots too. We got some notes here, and I find this very interesting too, right? Let's talk about the type of implants that these pilots in the clone that they're using to fly these dreads. You want to talk us through that a little bit, because it actually makes a big difference.
Yeah. So in LowSec, there is bubbles. So that means after your ship is destructed, there's no way for your pod to go out. That means any implants that's left in your pod will be killed as well. So in LowSec, the only thing you see with, let's say, a high grade pod will be Titans and super carriers. So those ships tend to have a high grade Nirvana for shield tanked, or high grade Amulet for armor tank ships. So those ones are high grades, which will which will basically double your effective EHP on your ship. But since those things are so expensive, about 3 billion per set, they're only used on supers and Titans. And so in LowSec, there's a different mechanics because there's no bubble. So therefore, your pod can get away safely if you manage to do it, right? So the only thing that's preventing you from doing that is interceptors with basically instant lock, right? But you have such a small signature radius as a pod, and you have basically instant line, so there's no worry there usually. So in LowSec, people who used to fight in LowSec, they always have high grade Amulet, high grade Nirvana, or at least a mid grade pod in their head, as I would say. A lot of times you see, let's say a Snuff Legion team, or Snuff Legion fleet. I think Rich has mentioned that multiple times. Why is it so scary? It's because all of their lodges have a high grade savior in their pod, which means that it will basically I think at least improve a half, 1.5 or 2 times the rep amount for logies, and basically a high grade amulet or high grade Nirvana in their DPS ship, which means that it's much tankier compared to one without it.
Exactly. So I got a little bit of information here as well, right? Some people are saying this in the audience, but thanks to Rich Richmond in the background, who always seems to have his finger on some of the information, right? So yes, the escalation was over the Revenant, right? But why would you have a Revenant attacking a POCO? To me, the POCO, this choice to use a Revenant on a POCO starts this thing. You don't bring a Revenant to the POCO dies. There's no fight, right? So okay, fine, semantics in that case, right? But Norris, I guess, when he woke up, had a very interesting comment, which was, "Damn, did we feed again?" Right? So, this is like the second dread brawl between Snuff and Winterco in the last 7 days, and as you pointed out, Shen, there was a bit of a mistake. The Frat FC being more LowSec, maybe mindset in his mind, called for dictors and totally missed the fact that in LowSec, as we've covered already, only the Hicks can hold down the super caps, right? So, yeah, that's so, and Revenants are very hard to catch in general, but still, yes, bait. Maybe it's bait. Maybe they were trying to bait a fight. I don't know. Just there's another story there. I'd love to really find out, why would you bring a Revenant to a POCO bash? I don't know. It just seems like, unless it's bait or just a mistake or someone was feeling overly ballsy that day. So yeah.
Yeah, so the Revenant is one of the is the hardest super carrier to catch because it's bonus. So every level of Caldari carrier bonus will give you 20% to the afterburner velocity speed. So with afterburner velocity bonus. So that means if you have a 10,000 MN afterburner on your Revenant, you have one cycle of that afterburner and then you're gone.
Right.
There's no way you can catch it. And I think someone mentioned smart bombs in LowSec. It can kill pods, but the problem is you will get conquered. So in HiSec, suicide ganking will get conquered, which means that if you attack anyone with any ship, no matter what kind of ship they have, what kind of ship you have, you will get conquered. But in LowSec, you will not get conquered if you attack someone's ship. But if you pod someone, you will get conquered.
That's right. So you probably don't want to do that if you're in a super cap or a capital ship. That's probably the wrong thing to do. But yeah. So any final elements on this big dreadnought fight, right? I mean, often, these types of escalations are, a little bit rare in the LowSec. So it's nice to see that these guys are finding a place to duke it out, different mechanics, different play styles. It was a fun little video to watch. I would encourage everyone to do that. We'll put it in the show notes. But any other items, Shen, that you want to cover on this?
I mean, I guess just relate this to the current war that's going on, right? So, I mean, as we know, Fraternity is part of the war, and now they've lost a huge amount of their dread cash. So maybe this will change the war, maybe not, but this is definitely a big loss on Fraternity side. I mean, those dreadouts were not, I think, intended to move to T5. If they were, they should be moved, I think, earlier in the week. So I think those one are dedicated to protect their homeland in the backfield. But that being said, let's make an assumption here. Half of the dreadouts is in T5, half of them is back home, and now a huge chunk of that half that's left behind home got destroyed because of this fight. They're very vulnerable right now in Veil of Silence. And Veil of Silence geographically can be signaled in from a lot of Caldari LowSec. And in LowSec, there's no sovereignty, so therefore anyone can dock up all kinds of ships. They can have structures, they can dock up NPC stations, so it's not really safe.
Right. Well, it seems our always on the spot audience is correcting us a little bit on the pod killing in LowSec. I don't spend enough time in LowSec to really know.
HiSec.
Thank you very much. It seems that you get kill rights but not concorded, and if you fly into HiSec with your with your criminal status, that might be the issue. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
not
I
a
think
LowSec pilot, sorry.
I know what I do know is when you kill a pod in LowSec or in nullsec or in HiSec for sure, is you get a big security status hit. So, but if you're -10, you're already -10. So who cares if that's what you're doing? So yeah, so that part I think is that part's true. So, but again, my apologies. I'll apologize for Shen. Sorry on the misinformation on the mechanics of killing a pod, but it would have been fun to see if someone was ballsy enough to do it. See all those nice high grade pod kills would have been fun to see, but you know, hey, it didn't happen. So, all right. So, talking about high grade pods and talking about dreads, we're going to move off this. We're going to talk a little bit about the ESS, the Grand Heist site notes.
Yeah, so I'll
Yep.
take from here. So
Yep.
on Tuesday, I'll apologize again in advance. A lot of information on Tuesday's show, they were not correct. I will say that's out straight. So first of all, there are a lot of bugs. There are rumors everywhere. So I took some. I couldn't double check it. I was in LowSec, and those sites are extremely hard to scan down, so I couldn't check them either. But what we now know is those sites can only allow subcapital to be in them. So Marauders are a great choice for them. And their first room, they don't have any rats, so it's pure hacking. So two people need to hack while so two people have to hack toucans within 15 seconds of each other, and the gates open for 2 minutes, which means that people can go in within that 2 minutes. And also that, so it's also being clear, CCP said this to us, that those sites were not on CC, was because they didn't want people to dissect the sites before it hits TQ. So in other words, those sites, the CCP doesn't want those sites to be solved before they hit TQ. So it's nothing related to all the bugs that's happening around the site. So right now, technically, the site is fully functioning, but there, of course, are some small glitches. If you do encounter them, please send a bug report to CCP. They will look at it and they will fix it. But we have words that people have fully completed them and successfully completed them and started to using the keys in LowSec to steal ESS.
Very good. Very good. That's a good point. Just one other comment as well here, just going back a little bit about this whole pod killing thing, right? Is when you get that kill right, and thanks to Sudikin for pointing this out, I remember this part I do remember because that has happened to me once. Kill rights can be sold to anyone and they can be activated in HiSec. So all of a sudden you can be a target by someone you're not even recognizing, and someone can find you and kill you. That happened to me once. That was no fun. It was a bit of a laugh after. I didn't know how this person had found me and killed me. So good point though, right? So be careful of giving kill rights out by doing that. But anyways, thanks for covering the ESS Grand Heist site note about watching out for capital guns. So what we're going to do right now is we are going, Talking Stations is going to be right back after a word from our sponsor. It's that part in the show now.
HiSec Buyback offers a 90% JITA anywhere in HiSec. Simply go to hisec.evebuyback.com, appraise your items, create a contract, and get paid quickly.
All right, that is our video from our sponsors, HiSec Buyback. So you can go to hisec.evebuyback.com. Fun little service. Please take advantage of it. And Shen, I think we're going to move on to another story here. Seems there was a Titan lost, and there was a little bit of treachery and such surrounding this. Let's set it up, and then I will read the Eve mail that was sent out by the Lord Alliance Executor Lingoli Etchery. But you want to talk about the fight itself? What was lost?
Yeah, so it's the Avatar that's lost from the alliance called Lord of Wards Alliance. So they're part of Winterco, and by that they live in Veil of the Silent right now. And from the fit, we can see it's a very standard or very good fitted avatar for bridging. So we can see the what's it called, the jump portal generator in its high slot, and we can only see 2 plates in the low slot. So that means it has less mass, which means that it's easier to turn around and to maneuver over places while having enough HP to be saved when danger arise.
Right. So let's so we've talked about the avatar itself, but let me read you this email, right? So this went out to the entire Lord of Worlds Alliance, which shorthand is Lord. Good evening, Lord. Lord leadership has been made aware of a disturbing truth regarding one of our member corporations, Suspect Squadron, suspicious intentions. We have been provided with evidence to the matter of their CEO, Isabella Treachery, looking to sabotage our alliance and coalition via espionage, economic warfare, and strategic hostile structure deployment. Economic warfare referencing his statement, creating something called a shadow economy. The rest of Lord stays poor and isn't aware of how rich we are getting. Inevitably, the CEO would have flipped their corporations to said hostile entity when the time had come, according to their CEO himself. To the nature of the evidence of conversations being spoken from the CEO himself, admitting to espionage and receiving a Plex payment monthly from said hostiles, we can say with certitude that he does not have virtuous intent or carried Lord's best intentions or best interests. Because of this, you may have already noticed that Lord has already sought retribution and the protection of Lord, her pilots, and assets. We do not tread lightly upon deception and exploitation of Lord and Lord's members. That being said, for the pilots of Suspect Squadron who are unaware of the intent and deception of their CEO, you are welcome to find a new home in Lord of Worlds Alliance. If you'd like to remain in Lord, send an email to Caesar Alande, Zencion, Jean Treachery, and CC myself, Lingoli Treachery. The actions of one person does not define yours. We understand this. You are still welcome here. For those that chose to leave, it's been a privilege flying with you, and I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. Best regards, Lingoli Treachery, Lord Alliance Executor. Lots of etcheries through that story. Isabella Treachery, this Lord Alliance Executor, Lingoli Treachery. There's obviously other Diplos or people in power, Joan Treachery. I don't know anything about this Treachery group, family. Are they brothers, related? Do you know anything about this, Shen?
No. Maybe just I think sometimes it's like alliance culture to have the same last name for your characters. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's friends, or maybe it was just something cool or fun to do. Is, hey, I will put together, in the executor, we'll just, sometimes you come in and you're asked to provide a character to put into the executor corp, right? And all right, so now I need to go use a free slot and I need to make a character, and then people will say, hey, why don't you just add the last name? We'll kind of make it like this family thing, a little bit of role playing. Maybe it could be that too, right? But
I think that's a max role playing part you can see in LowSec.
Yeah, or it's alts. Some would say they're all alts, but is he just? I don't think he's tattling on himself. I would be surprised if he's tattling on himself, but maybe it is, right? So yeah, role playing a little bit. So that's what I would think. Still though, whoops. I guess you got caught. You lost your avatar, right?
Yeah, and so I think I'll just address the chat a bit. So one person said, if you fail, the site is permanently disabled. So that's a bug. That's definitely a bug. So CCP should have fixed it on, I think, either yesterday's patch or today's patch. So right now, there's I think 2-minute cooldown between each time you fail the first room in the site. So the site is locked when there are 3 people in the site. But when you first warp into the site, so when you scan down the signature, when you warp in, you're about 15 kilometers off the gate. I think, yeah, 15 kilometers. So that means, it's very dangerous for you to move from there to the acceleration gate because people will be camping there. So be very careful when you do that. And well, that being said, it's a good place to camp people. So if you want to do it, do it. other than that, okay, also you can descan all the ships in the second room and in the first swung of the second room. Yeah, so you can see them on your descan. So a good way to not waste your time to go around in LowSec is to go within about 14 AU of those signatures. So and you hit your descan and then see if there are NPC, it's called SCC security officer or something like that you see on your descan. If you see them, that means there is a site. If you don't, that means there's not a site. Yeah, so that's a good way to save time. And the site is only about level 2 for the difficulty for scanning. So it's really easy to scan down. You can bring basically any ship with a probe scanner and scan them down. Well, that also being said, bring a dedicated scanning ship or just a Tech 3 cruiser with a probe launcher fitted will save you a lot of time, and sometimes save you. Sometimes just get you ahead of other people and get you in the site before another group of 3 gets into site before you do.
Right. So we just kind of went back to that grand heist a little bit. Just forward now to the to this avatar lost and the little bit of deception, right? So various people were just kind of talking here in the audience about maybe it was the default Galante last name. Is the Treachery. Apparently, it's fairly common. And there was a question though that I thought I wanted to talk about is this open invitation back of people. Hey, like someone is just basically asking, isn't that just a way to get some alts back in, or sorry, some spies back in? Wouldn't that just kind of, whoops, you just had this problem with and then now you're just going to say, hey, come back on in, right? And maybe unfortunately someone who is a little closer than they thought. I don't know. It seems a little non-Eve like to me. I'm much more used to get painted with the same brush a little bit. So this one person does not define yours. That seems a little non-Eve to me. Right. I don't know about you, Shen, but normally if my CEO, I would it was trying to steal from someone, I would fully expect my entire corp would just be booted to the curb, and suspect and guilty by association, and good luck in your Eve career, and I'd have to go somewhere else. That's what I think would happen in nullsec.
I mean, part of this is called growing your alliance. So I mean, to some degree, the corp member didn't do anything wrong, and they still want those population within their alliance. So the best thing to do is direct those people to other corporations within the same alliance. Only boot out the people who made the mistake. Let's say if that person is someone who's hired, who's higher in position in the corp, that means the corp is out. But if people can stay.
Yeah, if it's amazingly cut and dry, I get that, right? If it really was subterfuge at the highest layer where it was just the CEO and it's very clear it was just this guy doing it and everyone else was just blind to it. Because, in this way they were trying to, as he puts it, they were trying to keep everyone poor, this shadow economy. Okay, maybe, but man, Eve is just fraught with, guilty by association, right? So, yeah. Anyways, so pretty short show today. Got a little bit of news. I think we're going to wrap up here. Not much else to talk about. Should have a good evening for everyone else to be able to go and get in some battles and stuff. We're hoping that coming up this weekend we'll have some war news.
HiSec Buyback offers
show tomorrow night covering some more things that happened. But for now, that is it. Again, just a quick shout out to our sponsor, HiSec.evebuyback.com. Thank you very much for sponsoring today's shows. And that is all for today here on Talking Stations. Thank you very much for listening.
90% off. HiSec Buyback offers a 90% JITA anywhere in HiSec. Simply go to HiSec.evebuyback.com, appraise your items, create a contract, and get paid quickly.